Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to the path to Buddhist wisdom. In today's video, we're embarking on a reflective journey through the mind of one of the Zodiac's most free-spirited and profound signs, Sagittarius. Now, you might be wondering, what does Buddhist wisdom have to do with Zodiac psychology? As someone who has spent many years delving deeply into both traditional spiritual teachings and modern psychological insights, I've come to realize that every path we choose, be it astrology or the Dharma, ultimately leads us back to understanding the nature of our own mind. Why Sagittarius? Sagittarius is often characterized by a boundless love of exploration and a powerful yearning for the truth. These traits seem to mirror some essential Buddhist ideals: the unquenchable thirst for insight, and the willingness to roam freely, both mentally and physically, in the search for wisdom. Sagittarians are often said to be the truth tellers of the Zodiac. And in Buddhism, we likewise emphasize the importance of seeing things as they really are. Today, we'll discuss 25 psychological insights, we might call them facts or key tendencies, about Sagittarius. But we won't stop there. We will also explore how these insights resonate with the timeless lessons of Buddhism, as well as with everyday life challenges that affect us all. Along the way, I'll share personal stories, real-world examples, and encouraging bits of wisdom to keep you motivated until the very end. So, stay with me, because the knowledge we uncover might just apply to all of us, not just those with a birthday from November 22nd to December 21st. 1. The unfiltered honesty of Sagittarius. Sagittarians are famous, or should I say notorious, for being incredibly straightforward. They prefer blunt truth over a comfortable lie, even if that truth is inconvenient. Imagine the scenario: you have a friend who always calls it like they see it, even when everyone else in the room is trying to be diplomatic or polite. 9 times out of 10, that friend will be a Sagittarius. A parallel in Buddhist thought: the Buddhist concept of right speech encourages words that are truthful, harmonious, and useful. Sagittarians have the truthful part down pat, but they sometimes struggle with the harmonious aspect. Their honesty can come off as blunt. However, from a Dharma perspective, we can appreciate their dedication to truth, while also encouraging them to balance candor with compassion. Personal anecdote: years ago, I had a Sagittarian roommate who never hesitated to point out when my chores were late. She even went as far as telling me bluntly, "Your laziness is a result of your lack of self-discipline." It stung in the moment, but in hindsight, it was that frank comment which propelled me to get more organized. Lesson learned: Sagittarians remind us that truth, while sometimes painful, can ultimately set us free. Much like the Buddhist teaching that facing reality is the first step to liberation. 2. A deep-seated love for freedom. Freedom, to a Sagittarius, is like water to a fish, absolutely indispensable. They are the sign that most craves independence. Whether it's the freedom to travel, freedom to speak their mind, or freedom to explore new ideas. Impact on relationships: if you're romantically involved with a Sagittarius, one surefire way to strain that bond is by being overly possessive or controlling. They need space, literal and metaphorical. In a healthy partnership, they flourish if their partner respects their autonomy. Buddhist angle: Buddhists talk about non-attachment. For a Sagittarius, it's almost as if they have an intuitive sense of the pitfalls of clinging. They might not phrase it in Buddhist terms, but they do practice a form of letting go of anything that confines or stifles them. Real-life example: a friend of mine, who's a Sag, once quit a high-paying job simply because she felt her creativity was being boxed in. Everyone around her was shocked. But she thrived once she left. Within months, she embarked on a journey to teach English in another country, found new passions, and started a successful blog about her travels. Her story exemplifies how essential freedom is for Sagittarians. 3. Problem solving with an adventurous spirit. Beneath their spontaneous exterior, Sagittarians are actually quite analytical when they want to be. They might jump into situations headfirst, but once faced with a challenge, they'll often dissect it from numerous angles until they find a workable solution. It's as if their adventurous spirit applies not just to external explorations but also to the mental exploration of problems. Buddhist nuance. In Buddhism, there's a practice called vipassana, insight meditation, which involves observing reality carefully from multiple perspectives to gain deeper understanding. Sagittarians, in their own way, embody this spirit of inquiry, though they might not always sit on a cushion to do it. Everyday example, think of someone who decides to start a small business without much prior experience. A Sagittarius might jump in quickly, but then they'll spend countless hours researching, testing, and adapting. Their curiosity drives them to keep going until they crack the code. Key takeaway: coupling optimism with an analytical mind can be a recipe for success, especially when we also have the humility to learn from every mistake, another important lesson in many spiritual traditions. 4. The magnetism of their charisma. Sagittarius individuals can light up a room. Their positivity, love of storytelling, and genuine curiosity about the world make them quite compelling to be around. Even if they're not extroverted in a loud sense, there's an aura of enthusiasm that's hard to resist. Why so alluring? People are drawn to warmth, honesty, and a willingness to share adventures. Sagittarians often have an anecdote ready for any situation, typically infused with humor or a philosophical twist. Story from a reunion. At a friend's reunion party last year, the person everyone ended up talking about afterward was a Sagittarius who introduced himself with, "Hi. I once chased tornadoes for fun, ask me anything." He had that ease and confidence that made you want to pull up a chair and listen. Spiritual connection. In Buddhism, we value joyful effort, virya. Sagittarians radiate a form of joyful effort in day-to-day living. Their zest for life can become an inspiration for those around them, reminding us to approach our lives with a bit more light-hearted curiosity. 5. Balancing introversion and reflection. Although many view Sagittarians as the perpetual life of the party, these folks also have a reflective side. This is the paradox: they are explorers both outwardly and inwardly. After all the excitement, they often crave time alone to process what they've learned. A solitary trek. Imagine a Sagittarian friend who loves group adventures. After a big travel expedition, they might rent a small cabin in the woods for a week just to decompress and journal. It's not a sign of withdrawal, it's how they restore their equilibrium. Buddhist parallel. In spiritual practice, solitude is often where true insight can blossom. Sagittarians might not always formalize their introspection, but the desire to step back from the hustle mirrors the Buddhist idea that retreat can be deeply healing and enlightening. Bridge to next topic. Next, we'll delve into some specific dynamics within Sagittarius relationships, how they love, communicate, and sometimes clash. Word/character count. Progress note. Editor's note: at this stage, we're only partway through the script, ensuring we can comfortably expand to meet and surpass 19,000 characters in total across all parts. The text above is a foundation. In the upcoming sections, we'll weave in more specific tales, deeper Buddhist parallels, and thorough expansions on each insight. Part 2. 6. Sagittarius in love, passionate yet independent. When a Sagittarius loves, they love wholeheartedly. They're not known for half measures in romance. In the early stages of dating, they can be swept up by intense emotions, yet they also need breathing room. This can puzzle their partners, who wonder, do they want me close? Or do they want space? The answer is often both. Case study, a romantic chase. Picture Daniel, a Sagittarius who developed feelings for a co-worker. He openly expressed his admiration, taking her on adventurous day trips, surprising her with little thoughtful gestures, but after a few weeks, he'd vanish into solo hiking escapades. This push and pull dynamic might confuse someone unprepared for it. But for Daniel, this was the perfect balance. Ultimately, his co-worker learned to cherish her own independence, and they formed a more balanced, respectful bond. Buddhist reflection: love in Buddhism is ideally free from clinging. Sagittarians are almost exemplars of unattached love. Although it can be expressed a bit erratically, they highlight that love doesn't have to mean losing oneself in another person. 7. Communication and honesty, the double-edged sword. Sagittarians want transparent communication, and they'll give you the same. If you lie to them or twist the truth, it's likely you'll lose their trust swiftly. Yet ironically, their own forthright style can come across as tactless. Workplace conflict example: Emma, a Sagittarius manager, once got into hot water by telling a subordinate, "Your performance is abysmal this quarter, and you're not giving your best." While the core message may have been correct, the harsh delivery led to resentment. It was only after implementing more compassionate communication strategies that the situation improved. Buddhist advice: right speech encourages truth, but tempered with kindness. Sagittarians can learn that presenting honesty in a gentler way can still uphold authenticity while preserving harmony. 8. The psychological drive for novelty. Sagittarians detest boredom. Their active minds crave stimulating conversations, unusual hobbies, and bold activities. A quiet evening at home can be enjoyable if it's a conscious choice. But if they feel stuck or restricted, frustration sets in fast. Personal story: I recall traveling with a Sagittarius friend who insisted we change our itinerary at the last minute to visit a lesser-known temple in the mountains. As a student of Buddhist art, I initially resisted, but that spontaneity led us to discover breathtaking murals and have profound conversations with local monks. That unplanned detour turned out to be the trip's highlight. Takeaway: for Sagittarians, the journey is more vital than the destination. And sometimes, unscheduled changes lead to the richest experiences. Reflecting the Buddhist notion of being open to the present moment and impermanence. 9. Kindness and generosity. Beneath their free-spirited exterior, many Sagittarians harbor generous hearts. They'll share resources, knowledge, or time if they sense a genuine need. Real-world example: a Sagittarius nurse I know started a small reading club for the hospital's pediatric ward. Without being asked, she brought in new books each week, encouraging children to learn about different cultures, philosophies, and imaginative worlds. Over time, the staff noticed how her positivity and generosity significantly boosted the ward's overall morale. Buddhist correlation: generosity, dana, is considered one of the foundational virtues. Sagittarians often embody this effortlessly, albeit sometimes in a spontaneous manner. like donating to a fundraiser after hearing just one heartfelt story. 10. Impulsivity and the lessons it brings. Yes. Impulsivity can lead Sagittarians into unexpected predicaments. They may say yes to a cross-country move on a whim or invest in a passion project without thorough research. Yet they frequently turn these impulsive decisions into life lessons or even triumphs. Story of a risky startup. A Sag friend of mine launched a small pop-up restaurant dedicated to vegan food after discovering a local demand. Despite minimal planning, her determination and adaptability turned the venture into a success. She joked later, "If I'd overthought it, I'd never have started. And I wouldn't have learned so much about business and myself." Spiritual insight. In Buddhism, risk-taking is not explicitly promoted. But the willingness to step into the unknown can be likened to a form of faith or confidence in the Dharma. The difference is mindful awareness, ensuring your leap aligns with moral and ethical principles. 11. Sagittarius men and their attraction to activity. When focusing specifically on Sagittarius men, they often show strong attraction to energetic, active partners. They seek someone who can match their enthusiasm for life's adventures, someone who isn't content to watch from the sidelines. Romantic illustration. Ian, a Sagittarius triathlete, met his current partner in a hiking club. He recalls, "I fell for her halfway up a mountain. Seeing her push through fatigue with a smile told me she had the spirit I was looking for." This sums up the Sagittarian male perspective. They love when their partner is just as alive and bold as they are. 12. Sagittarius women and their unique combination of grace and fire. Sagittarius women often exhibit a compelling mix of charming femininity and unstoppable willpower. One moment, they're discussing philosophical texts over coffee, the next, they're booking flights to join an eco-volunteering program in a distant country. Inspirational note, their spontaneity can break down the comfort zones of those around them. In a sense, they serve as living reminders that life is short and we should embrace opportunities while they arise. Parallel to Dharma practice, the Buddha encouraged disciples to move beyond complacency. A Sagittarius woman embodies that principle in her day-to-day life, constantly seeking experiences that foster growth, empathy, and awareness. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you're witnessing just how deep the Sagittarian psyche can be. And we're only halfway through our 25 core points. Up next, we explore the interplay of calmness and spontaneity, the spiritual significance of their open-mindedness, and more heartfelt stories, all leading us to a final reflection about how these traits can guide us on the path to Buddhist wisdom in everyday life. Part 3. 13. The connection to nature. Many Sagittarians feel most alive and at peace under an open sky, whether that means trekking through forests, resting on a beach, or simply wandering city parks. Nature is like a mirror to their soul, reflecting back that sense of boundless possibility. Buddhist perspective. In many Buddhist traditions, practice often involves retreating into natural settings, mountains, forests, and riversides, to gain clarity away from worldly distractions. Sagittarians tap into nature's serenity almost instinctively, recharging their energy. Real-life example. A friend of mine found her calling as a wildlife photographer specifically because she loved the freedom of being outdoors. While photographing animals, she felt both an adrenaline rush and a deep sense of tranquility, emotions Sagittarians often crave. 14. Balancing the chaos in daily life. Sagittarians do relish freedom, but they also appreciate a sense of balance, particularly in their schedules and environments. They excel when they create personal structures that don't feel stifling but still prevent chaos from overwhelming them. Tip for the overwhelmed Sag: establish a flexible routine. Like a morning ritual of meditation or journaling. It's not about strict rules, it's about anchoring the day with mindful awareness so that freedom remains a source of joy rather than anxiety. Buddhist angle on mindful routine. Buddhist practitioners often have daily routines involving meditation, chanting, or mindful tasks. This structure fosters mental clarity. Sagittarians can adapt such practices to prevent themselves from drowning in the swirl of endless possibilities. 15. Their stubborn independence. If there's one trait that stands out, it's that Sagittarians rarely ask for help, even if they might need it. They prefer learning through direct experience rather than instructions. While this fosters self-reliance, it can also lead to unnecessary hardships. Example from a family business: take Nora, a Sag daughter who joined her parents' bookstore. Instead of seeking advice about finances, she insisted on handling the marketing by herself, leading to near-disastrous budget gaps. Only after a few missteps did she accept her parents' input, turning the store into a hub for literary events. Reflection: sometimes independence can be a double-edged sword. The Buddhist notion of the middle way suggests we strike a balance between doing everything solo and leaning entirely on others. Sagittarians might benefit from that middle path. 16. The demand for honesty from others. We've established Sagittarians are straightforward. Naturally, they expect the same from everyone around them. Dishonesty or manipulation can irreparably fracture their trust. A dramatic friendship breakdown: a Sag man I knew ended a 10-year friendship upon discovering that his friend repeatedly lied about finances, even though the friend apologized. The breach of trust felt too deep. He felt betrayed, not just by the act, but by the underlying deception. Communication tip: if a conflict arises with a Sag, it's best to be direct and open. Any attempt to sugarcoat or dodge the truth often backfires. This principle aligns with a Buddhist emphasis on clear speech as the foundation for trustworthy relationships. 17. The fiery kisses and deep connections. In romantic lore, Sagittarius is sometimes described as having a kiss that lingers in the soul. While it sounds poetic, it underscores how this sign invests genuine emotion and intensity into intimate moments. Emotional resonance for them. A kiss isn't just a physical gesture, it's a gateway to deeper empathy and connection. This resonates with the spiritual concept of oneness, the idea that a moment of true heartfelt connection reflects the unity beneath our separate selves. Personal account: a close friend of mine recalled her first kiss with her Sag boyfriend. She said, "It felt less like two people kissing and more like I'd opened a new dimension of warmth." Dramatic? Yes. But it aptly conveys the emotional magnitude Sagittarians can bring. 18. Storytelling prowess, leaving a lasting impression. When a Sagittarius leaves your life, perhaps due to a move or a parting of ways, their absence is felt strongly. Why? Because of the deep conversations, captivating stories, and new perspectives they often introduce. They don't just talk, they engage, question, and reflect. Buddhist link: there's a concept of Kalyana Mitta, a spiritual friend who elevates your understanding of life. Sagittarians can inadvertently play that role for many people, opening portals to bigger questions about purpose and meaning. Case in point, when a colleague who was a Sagittarius left our office for an around-the-world sabbatical, the entire team felt a creative void. We'd grown accustomed to his philosophical tangents and spontaneity that opened new ideas for the organization. 19. Learning through adventure, the eternal student. Sagittarius is associated with higher learning and expansive thought. Whether it's formal education, self-study, or traveling the globe, they're always in search of knowledge. Example, a world classroom, instead of enrolling in grad school. A Sag friend opted for a year backpacking across multiple continents, learning languages and cultures directly. By the end of her journey, she had a broader worldview than many who only studied in a classroom. Buddhist worldview, the Buddha himself traveled, teaching across regions, emphasizing direct experience over second-hand knowledge. Sagittarians share that thirst for first-hand wisdom. Reading about a place isn't enough, they want to be there, breathe its air, and absorb its energy. 20. Calm yet explosive, a surprising duality. Sagittarians can maintain a serene optimism most of the time. But when provoked or restricted, their temper can flare surprisingly fast. It's almost as if they hold a reservoir of fiery intensity beneath a calm exterior. Buddhist perspective on anger. Buddhism views anger as a poison that clouds clarity. For Sagittarians, working on techniques like mindful breathing or metta, loving-kindness meditation, can help them channel that fiery impulse into something constructive. Transition to final part. We've journeyed through the complexities of Sagittarian psychology, touched on their spontaneity, generosity, honesty, and unwavering quest for freedom. In our final part, we'll delve into the last 5 key points, focusing on how Sagittarians handle boredom, what it takes to truly capture their heart, their innate positivity, and ultimately, how we can apply these lessons in our daily life, spiritual or otherwise. Short fade out. Soft music bridging into part 4. Part 4. 21. Their aversion to boring situations. Monotony is the kryptonite of a Sagittarius. Repetitive tasks or dull conversations can lead them to mentally check out. They're adept at daydreaming or multitasking if the present moment fails to hold their interest. Practical tip: if you want to keep a Sagittarius engaged, whether in a work meeting or social setting, introduce creative angles or dynamic tasks. Keep the energy flowing. This ensures they won't disappear into their own thoughts halfway through. Buddhist thought, being fully present is a challenge for many people, not just Sagittarians. Mindfulness training can help them stay in the moment, find novelty in routine tasks, and appreciate subtle details they might otherwise overlook. 22. Sagittarius men, lovers of laughter. Sag men often find humor to be an incredibly potent bonding tool. They gravitate towards individuals who can appreciate wit, banter, and the art of not taking everything so seriously. Real love story: a friend of mine, a Sagittarius man, proposed to his partner at a comedy club. He said the exact moment he knew she was the one was when she burst out laughing at his corny joke and topped it with an even cornier punchline. They realized they could share a life that balanced sincerity with laughter. Spiritual encouragement: humor is sometimes underrated in spiritual circles. In Zen Buddhism, there's a history of masters using playful, paradoxical statements, koans, to provoke insight. Sagittarians share this spirit. They often believe the best truths come wrapped in a smile or a joke. 23. The balancing act of spontaneity and planning. Yes, Sagittarians love spontaneity, but they also recognize that without any structure, life can become unmanageable. They oscillate between leaps of faith and brief intervals of meticulous planning, just enough to keep them afloat. Example: a Sag woman might spontaneously book a flight to a retreat center but still research the best time of year to go. She's not interested in a full itinerary, yet she wants to avoid monsoon season if possible. It's the classic Sagittarian middle ground: keep it flexible, but not reckless. Buddhist reference: the Buddha advised a balanced approach to everything, not too tight, not too loose. Like tuning a string instrument. Sagittarians epitomize this approach when they manage to harness their spontaneity with just the right amount of foresight. 24. Their underestimated sensitivity. Despite their easygoing facade, Sagittarians can be quite sensitive, especially around matters of personal integrity or deeply held beliefs. If their sincerity is questioned, or their values are mocked, they can be deeply hurt. Illustration: I once knew a Sagittarian blogger who wrote about cultural and spiritual experiences. When someone rudely accused her of superficial traveling, it struck a nerve. She responded strongly, laying out her research and genuine admiration for each culture she visited. The online debate ultimately showcased how protective she was of her authenticity. Buddhist insight: sensitivity is a sign of a mindful heart. Emotions can be skillful tools if handled compassionately. Sagittarians remind us that being bold doesn't negate deeper vulnerabilities. Embracing both fosters a more authentic self. 25. Upholding tranquility, spontaneity, and freedom, the triad. Wrapping it all up, we arrive at the core triad that defines many Sagittarians: tranquility, spontaneity, and freedom. Balancing these three elements can seem paradoxical, but in practice, it manifests as tranquility, a calm center, allowing them to reflect and regroup; spontaneity, an eagerness to seize new opportunities without overthinking; freedom, the underlying principle that keeps their soul alive. When these align, Sagittarians flourish, becoming magnets of positivity and wisdom. Conclusion: a call to adventure and inner wisdom. Host on camera. Final thoughts. So, there you have it, 25 psychological insights, and plenty of personal stories, into the freewheeling, truth-seeking, ceaselessly curious mind of the Sagittarius. By observing these traits, we see how they resonate deeply with Buddhist principles: non-clinging, direct experience, compassion in communication, and the quest for awakening to reality as it is. Why this matters to everyone. You don't have to be a Sagittarius to learn from their strengths and pitfalls. We can all take a page from their book, perhaps by being a bit more courageous, open to new horizons, and honest in our interactions. At the same time, we can watch out for impulsivity, remembering to balance freedom with responsibility. A note on Buddhist wisdom. In Buddhist teachings, we continually strive for the middle way, avoiding extremes. Sagittarians, and those of us who admire them, might remember that freedom blossoms best when it's accompanied by respect for others. And that bold honesty should be gently guided by compassion. Practical takeaways. Practice mindful honesty, be truthful, but aim to speak with kindness. Explore fearlessly, reflect regularly, embrace new experiences. Then carve out quiet time to integrate lessons learned. Honor your need for growth, whether that's traveling externally or journeying inwardly through meditation or study. Foster authentic relationships, build bonds founded on mutual freedom and respect. Thank you and invitation to subscribe. Thank you for journeying with me through this deep dive into the Sagittarian psyche. If this video sparked any insights, or if you're a Sagittarius yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below on how you connect these traits with your own life experiences. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Path to Buddhist Wisdom for more explorations into the intersections of spirituality, psychology, and everyday living. Until next time, may you walk your path with open eyes, a compassionate heart, and a free spirit. just like a true Sagittarius.